Hi, Mr. Kumar. Thanks for joining us. Just to give you an introduction for today's discussion, today this year has been affected by coronavirus over the last few months, and the impact is yet to be seen. So it is. If we would just have to wait and watch what the impact is going to be, and the most of the corporates are going to announce their results over the next few months, and and from our perspective, this year is going to be a watershed moment in terms of both philanthropy and CSR, because CSR does have spending does have an correlation towards the company results and so on. So I really want to get some perspective on how it is all going to be over the next 1 year. Is it going to be a big watershed moment in terms of private philanthropy, CSR? So we have with us Mr. Kumar Priyaranjan of Hikal Limited. So he's the president of human capital and CSR for Hikal, one of the leading pharma companies in India. Thanks for joining us today. So if you could give a little bit of an introduction about yourself to the people who are here, and that'd be a great start.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to the talk. And as you have already said, I look after HR people area as well as CSR, and that's again people. It's a larger population out there, and it's like coexisting in this ecosystem, because whatever we get from the society, and we have that primary responsibility to reciprocate. And that's what we strongly believe in the company. At Hikal, we have very well-defined policy on CSR. It's called Srijan, which means creation. Hikal primarily is into two businesses. One is pharmaceutical and second is crop protection. And both are absolutely essential services sector. We cater to farmers through the formulator companies, and same in pharma. Coming to the concerns, what we nurture for society in the company is multifold. It comes down right from the chairman, who always has been looking at society, that look, whatever we have today and we have created and what we will get in future, it all comes from the society. So we must be sensitive towards needs of society. And that's how the Srijan, our CSR program, is fully built around the need assessment done. And this is done every year. What we do is every site where we are present, we are primarily present in 3 states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Gujarat. And then, of course, we have offices outside India, and we sell outside India, plus India. So everywhere, wherever we are present, we go do the study, understand the need of the society, and then come up with the projects, implement the project, review that, and then again go and look at the impact assessment. So that's how we work. But then right now the scenario is completely different. It's very challenging time we are going through. It's for everyone, even you, I'm sure you would have been talking to many people around, and even the eldest people around we have, they also say that they never had this kind of thing ever in their life. It's that kind of challenges we are facing, and it's being also kind of equated with World War. It's like World War. So we are going through it, but then, and every day is a new learning. Every day is a new day. Experience of coronavirus infections, to testing, to government notifications, to people challenges, and then more concerning are the people who have lost jobs because of this. The people who are daily wage earners, migrant workers, they've got stuck, and they've I'm sure you have seen on the TV that thousands and thousands of people started walking on the road to reach their destination, and they got stranded, and then finally local governments have made some arrangements. It's really praiseworthy, and then corporates have also come forward to help them. So these are the major concerns today, and I think we have responsibility, primary responsibility, to look after such people.
Yeah. I think it's very well said. So I was in discussion with an entrepreneur today morning. I was just having a general chat with him, and he was saying they all have literally closed their eyes in terms of what is happening now, and they just are looking forward to dealing with the mess later. So that's a sense that I'm getting now. From one of the questions I really wanted to ask you was the CSR spending. How does it? How is it going to be affected actively during this time period? We all know that measuring the effectiveness in terms of CSR spending is quite a debatable topic. Now that it's going to be mostly lockdown, and social distancing is going to be the norm. One might find challenges in terms of NGOs getting active on the grounds, trying to execute some of the projects. Now, how do you see that in terms of the spending now? Is it going to be uh, directly managed by you through your ecosystem, or would you be more comfortable talking to the NGOs and drive your initiatives there? How do you see all this evolving over the next a few months? It could even go for a year, I guess. Going by a yardstick that some of the hospitality entrepreneurs are telling me, it might take even a year for things to really open up for the next, from a business perspective. So the social distancing is going to continue for a year, I guess. So what do you, how do
Yeah,
you see it?
agree. And feedback what you have is pretty sensible feedback. It may go even beyond a year. The way businesses are under duress right now, and few sectors which are badly hit, and it will remain in that segment. It will take time for them to come out. Are tourism, hotel, auto sector. These are the very bad hit. And if you see that when economy also starts picking up, how many of us will go and buy cars? How many of us will go and go for tourism? No, because it's a social distancing will come into play. That am I traveling with so many people in the flight or the train or in the buses? So these sectors are certainly going to take longer time to revive. So coming back to the base question you said, it's a very difficult and not really practical to handle everything ourselves. So we have to have a combined approach, something we can do ourselves. We are doing also. I'll give you some data on that.
Yeah.
But also it's important to partner with right agencies who are actually doing work on the ground. And I'm sure most of the agencies are right today seriously doing the work. But then, yes, we have tied up with few NGOs as well as government directly, because we are working directly with the Ministry of Health, Government of Maharashtra, to provide personal protective equipments, masks, etc., for the doctors and healthcare workers, nurses, because that has been in short supply, and also Ministry wanted corporates to come forward and take care of this. So we are working closely with them and providing. That's a direct thing. There is no agency in between.
Yeah.
Similarly, we are catering to migrant workers around our plants. They are not working for us, but they were working in some other units that those units are completely closed, and they were actually hungry for many days. And news came to us that these people are around our plant and they are not having food to eat. So there, our people, our employees, they go with groceries, and we are giving them time to time. Once we give them for 6 days, and again 5th day we go there and replenish that, so that they are not starving. That's very important. We have also started giving them shelter. We have got places to stay for them in nearby villages, and we have spoken to Panchayat, telling them that look, we take the responsibility of feeding them and also ensuring that they maintain social distancing while they are staying in the village, because villagers are also having that apprehension that these so many people are staying in one place, if they bring something and villagers get infected. So these kind of things we are doing directly. But yes, there are NGOs who are doing a wonderful job, and we have partnered with them. One of them is International Association for Human Values, IAHV. They are doing lots of work, and we have been working with them to spread or distribute raw materials like rice and uncooked rice, so dal and other groceries, to people who live in hutments, and they were daily wage earners. They were selling something on the footpath in the market. Now market is closed, so they can't earn. So that kind of work IAHB has been doing, and we are doing that.
Yeah.
We also have partnered with Goonj. Goonj is doing wonderful job again, and they are doing across the country. So we work with Goonj very closely, and we are providing them resources so that they can continue doing the work wherever they are active. They are actually working in 18 states. A very impressive work. So it's a combination. We can't handle everything ourselves, and we should not also leave everything to partner, because we also need to extend a helping hand.
Yeah. And so so that's basically on the ground running, on the ground help and support. But looking at your core competency, so are you doing any activities specific to your competency towards funding research for, let's say, new drugs or vaccines, or are you doing anything on that front in terms of ecosystem building?
We have some projects on which would help, because in this particular area for antivirus drug, many companies have started work, and we are not directly into that, because we are into pharma. We are into some key products which are required for people to help them build immune system because of by addressing other diseases like as diabetes or central nervous system. If there is a breakdown in the central nervous system, immunity goes for a toss. So we are into that segment, and those projects are on. And we are certainly spending more money to fasten the development process so that faster we cater to the market.
No, because I kind of agree with you. One of the reports that I've been reading in Japan, for instance, they didn't really follow a lockdown, because what they say is the virus is definitely going to come back stronger once lockdown is over. So that's a common theory that is going around, and what some of the people estimate, as much as 70% of the population might even get contract the virus, and it'll go. We won't even know that we contracted the virus. I think possibly the best solution to end all this is possibly to have the other surrounding diseases not being there, like diabetes or other conditions.
Yes.
So that's kind of builds on to the hypothesis. So from your perspective, have you changed from your priority in terms of course you would have changed your priority. So what were your CSR priority pre-COVID, and what is your CSR priorities post-COVID? And has that been changed? And across this sector, do you see such a change happening?
Yes, I do see priorities changing, and at least in fraternity, when I interact with people, most of the people are saying the same. And we did pretty early. We realized when this work from home thing was started before Janta curfew and lockdown, we sensed that it's going to be an issue, because we were completely fully abreast of the international happenings. So we stopped all our nice to have projects, because we were also one of the area where we look at is building infrastructure for rural schools. So now today, in today's scenario, infrastructure of building a school building is not that important compared to people who are hungry and dying because of hunger. So we have diverted those funds. We said that whatever we have done so far, we will see that stays. And slowly, once we come back to little normal, maybe it will be new normals. So when we get back to new normal, we will restart those projects. But today, we need to reprioritize our projects. And therefore, we have diverted funds to these kind of projects, which is providing food, shelter, and PPEs, masks, etc. to health workers and police, because it's very important. Sanitizing villages. Because if the people come from village, it's not directly to us, but then wherever they're going, they will spread it if they are not sanitized. So we have spent lots of effort and money by putting all these systems in villages where it can be, common areas can be sanitized.
Got it. Yeah, and one of the questions that has come from our viewers is around that. I'm sure this is possibly answered by you. So the question, any contribution to the lives of underprivileged people? I think we spoke about that already. So definitely you're doing activities around that. So coming the CSR as a sector, if you look at that, right, how is that going to be over the next 1 year? Because our prediction, we've been doing the philanthropy list for a while. We've seen a surge of private philanthropy this year already. So this is definitely going to be a watershed moment for private philanthropy. But for CSR, the corporate-driven philanthropy, which is derived from the performance of the underlying businesses, right, which could possibly take a hit this year. So this could have a negative impact on the CSR sector as a whole, is our prediction. From your standpoint, what do you see as the CSR landscapes, short-term future, which would have an impact on employment and hiring for the NGOs and all the whole ecosystem? How do you see that ecosystem evolving over the next short term, 6 to 9 months, or even a year?
Yeah. See, what I see going forward is obviously some of these industrial sectors, they would set jobs because of their survival, because it would be a question of survival. In pharma, crop, there would not be job cuts, because at least in our company, we are very clear that we are not going to do job cuts, because we also have to support people continue earning. Otherwise, it's going to be adverse impact tomorrow on us. However, the new normal is leading to new ways of working, and new ways of working would bring in elements of higher use of technology, and therefore, and multifold. It's not one kind of technology. It will be all kinds of technologies coming into play, and therefore we would need to re-skill people. The people who are today, their skill today may not be relevant. So that would be one area where focus has to be put in, and even CSR fund need to be diverted to that for re-skilling. Other thing would be livelihood, because the people, if you see right now, my own study around our plants is that all the migrant workers, today they are there, but then the moment this lockdown comes to an end and all transportation starts, they would go to their native places. And most of them may not like to come back. That's what they're talking.
Wow. Okay. Very insightful.
Yes. And this is going to be big hit to industries. Because these migrant workers, if you see in Mumbai, largely they are from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, little from West Bengal, but more from these three states majorly, and Jharkhand. Now, if they don't come back, then generating that kind of workforce within Maharashtra is going to be a challenge. Though we have started some work in that area, but then it's going to be a challenge because huge demand and the supply gap would be there. But plus, a skill requirement would be a different ballgame altogether. And there I see the whole scenario will change, priorities will change, and when the private philanthropy is going to address differently, the CSR will also have to follow that path only. Otherwise, it's not going to help anyone. So that's how I look at this. And health and safety would be third aspect. Because it's, again, as you very rightly said, the virus is not going to go. It will come back. It will remain. And till that, an eradication program is not going to be in few months. It is going to be over a period of many years.
Decades, yeah.
So this is going to keep coming back, hitting us. Therefore, we need to have very robust health and safety system in place. Not only in the companies, but also we have to go extra mile. And there would be big need, which we are starting. We have started putting protocols in place for operations post lockdown. So that is going to be important, because in that one element, what we are looking at, that how do we reach out to every families, those who are working with us. Their families need to be involved actively. They need to understand importance of social distancing, importance of sanitizing hands regularly, importance of being little sensitive towards these kind of things. If somebody is going out and coming back, then what do you need to do? That kind of thing, educating families and being in touch with them so that they are honest in also revealing data.
Yeah.
Because some cases, if you're seeing that some cases people are not revealed and then others got infected, finally they have landed and whole family and surroundings, everything is quarantined. It's a not good thing.
Yeah.
So that's how the shift will happen, and I think we all need to prepare for that. We have started working towards that.
Yeah. So are you all going to be a lot of work from home after the lockdown is over?
It has to be, because with 100% population in offices, it's not possible to maintain social distancing. So we are creating categories of people. There would be some category of people, not only level-wise, but even role-wise, who can operate from home. So those guys should operate from home and come to office only once in 15 days or once a week as needed. And now we are all used to this video call and meeting through videos and even training through videos. We are doing lots of engagement program for our employees through video. And I personally, because I'm also a trained yoga teacher, so I take yoga classes for them, breathing exercises so that they are fit. That it's also a way of connecting with people. Now everything is happening through video calling, so people are connected. And I think these technologies will become more way of life. It has already become. So it will become more popular, and through that people have to work. So we will work from home.
Have you started monetizing your yoga classes to other people other than your employees yet?
Not yet. So that I do, but then that is not paid. It's free. So if somebody wants me, I do that class as well. Yes.
That's interesting to know. The next, I think the organization has donated to PM Cares and the CM Relief Fund, and today it could be I saw one of the tweets from someone that some of the rapid testing kits, most of them that are imported from China, has gone bad. So do you think sometimes there's a lot of inefficiencies when the funds are donated via the government vis-a-vis you doing it directly? Do you see? I've heard this feedback from some of the entrepreneurs in the list myself, but then even my donations, I split it to government and also to institutions directly that I'm aware of, which is doing work. So, what are your perspectives on it? Is it efficient to donate, especially at this point in our every penny is so important and valuable? Because unlike we are not like the US, where we can the Indian government does not have the resources to give a 2 trillion package. So there is a definitive lack of resources there as well. So every penny is so important. So do you think from that perspective it's important to donate or make contributions directly than go through governments, which could be sometimes inefficient?
Yes. My answer is again combination. It has to be combination. Why? Because one, we do directly, then we also get little higher sense of satisfaction that something I'm seeing immediately in action. That's another thing that we, and also sometimes we participate directly and we get connected with people who are beneficiaries. But government is doing lots of things at very, very different level and scale, which we cannot do directly. And some of these instances where kits were faulty and possibly this was not tested at the beginning, that whether test kits were faulty. I don't blame the government, because we also have to relate with government systems, that somebody is offering and we are in so much of need that few samples were tested and checked and they were okay. So now every kit cannot be checked. So, and then people have malified intention, they give you something else in the box. Yeah. Like, I remember once somebody ordered a couple of years back and it came in newspaper that, from the online shopping, whatever was ordered, first packet, there were two packets. One packet was clothes and second packet was supposed to be some other article, and there was some stones inside, weighing the same weight. So I'm saying that people have to believe. Now that kind of cheating happens, you can't help it. Sometimes it can also be not cheating. It could be in the process of manufacturing. Some batches were faulty, which were not noticed. So it could be because of that. So whatever reason. But coming back to the point is that from PM Care Fund or Chief Minister's Relief Fund, there are many other projects which are being done. Like they handle the large medical systems in the country. Then they are feeding lakhs and lakhs of people. See, as a corporate, we can only do so much. If I put together all my data, I can tell you on fingers that we are supporting around 15, 16,000 families. It may be big number from a company standpoint, but if I look at country level and you see what Delhi government is doing for over lakh of people who were migrant workers and they were trying to leave that place, they put them into detention center and then they are being fed. It's very, very commendable job. So government does large scale work and we have to have faith in our government system machineries. And therefore we must contribute. I have done personal contribution, and from company side also we have contributed very large amount, and we generally don't want to talk about that because it's always in ancient times it was told that your donation should be secret. So, but yes, very large handsome amount has been paid. We are also contributing to Chief Minister's Fund parallelly. Not that Prime Minister Fund we have given, so no need. Yes, we have further we are contributing. And great thing is all employees of the company, they have agreed and we are paying 1 day salary to Chief Minister's Fund. And whatever collection will be there from salary, 3 times of that amount company is contributing to make the fund larger and being given to the state government. So if we don't give, then where from government will get fund to spend on these kind of things, infrastructure creating. So that's I think it's a combination.
So and just last couple of points. I am strongly of the opinion that any charity or philanthropy should be spoken about because it inspires a lot of other people to donate as well. And the private philanthropy cycles that you see after COVID is possibly a good example to that. People are out and saying that charity. I would say I made a very small donation. I just put that in social media. One of my previous employee donated seeing that post. I mean, that's a small example. I'm sure definitely have a ripple effect in terms of donations is what I think. And one last question: where do you see the vaccines development? What stage do you have any information about developing? And I know I studied in Oxford University, so I know that University of Oxford is developing a vaccine or a treatment as we speak.
Even so there is work. Germany, there is work going on. So there are 3-4 labs across the globe are working on this. And good thing is that Food and Drug Administration is giving all required permissions very fast. So it's within 24 hours they're looking at data and giving permissions to move ahead. And now it has reached clinical trials. So hopefully, what I get mixed thing, but then yes, we keep track of pharma development. So what it is coming to the latest news. What I got last night was that vaccines should be available commercially sometime towards end of the year. So between October to December. So
that's very exciting. Yeah, I think you should have said, put that as a post in Facebook or Twitter. Stock markets will go up 20% because of your tweet. Carry on. Sorry.
What happens is it has its own development cycle. It requires some data to be proven to FDA, and FDA has to look at that, because once any vaccine is injected in the body system, how body chemistry will react, that part has to be seen properly. And that cannot be fastened. So scientists are working on that, and if you see our own Prime Minister as well as other countries' presidents and Prime Ministers, they are requesting scientist community to come forward and work on this. And there are more facilities being made available to them. Grants are being given. So obviously, it's going to be faster and good for the mankind.
Hopefully, yeah. So I think that's pretty much our conversation. Really, hopefully, I really hope that the CSR landscape continues to be strong in India, because that is the only medium other than the private philanthropy that plugs the funding gap in terms of government spending. And individuals such as yourself play a huge role in that. And I'm really glad that we had this conversation today. It is more of as I tell my people who watch this show, it's more of me having a very private conversation with you. And if it's a very interesting conversation, and let the world hear it, and they can also gain something out of it. And thanks for joining us. Do you have any parting words before we sign up?
Yeah, I think we need to have 2-3 things which come to my mind, that more and more empathy has to develop in people.
Yeah.
Sensibility towards what's happening around us. We need to be more human. And we have to develop, particularly in industry, the leaders need to develop mental resilience. That's what I would say. And with these 3 personality aspects, don't give up hope, rather create hope for people. And as you very rightly said, CSR landscape has to be more stronger, and it has to be need-based today, and at least for a few quarters to come. The need would be towards this cause, but where we are struggling today, and there we need to spend more and more. So with that word, thank you very much for having me here, and the kind of impressive work you are doing. I still remember all that presentation made during the conference. Very impressive. Please continue doing this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. Thank you everyone for watching. I look forward to joining you again very soon. Thank you.